Hi, I'm Lazarow, the IBM practice leader at Revelwood. Today I'm going to show you a little bit about performance monitoring in your planning analytics environment. IBM uses an approach called Performance Monitor to process statistics and information about your database. Turning on Performance Monitor is relatively easy. What you could see on my screen is I have a vanilla workbench with no information on the right side, and on the left I've got my list of databases. To turn on Performance Monitor, all I'm going to do is right-click on the name of a server, and I'm going to choose the option for Performance Monitor. Before enabling it, you're going to get the equivalent of an "Are you sure?" message that pops up. And what you see on the screen is you see that it's saying, "Are you sure you want to turn this on?" One of the reasons why you want to make sure that you turn it on is there will be statistics that will be getting recorded. It'll be monitoring your system. There may be a slight performance impact, so the planning analytics environment wants to make sure, are you sure you want to turn this on? If the answer is yes, it's as simple as flipping the trigger and saying save. And what you'll see that the performance monitor has been started. Now what's happening is once the performance monitor starts, there's a series of control objects that will be created. So I'm going to expand my database. I'm going to go into my control objects. And in this particular case, we're going to look for control cubes. And within the control cubes, I'm just going to search for the word stats. And you can see that there's a series of control cubes that start with stats by. These cubes are designed to reference performance statistics within your environment. These are the kinds of things that are going to show information about your overall environment. It's going to show your memory usage. Maybe it's going to show information about processes. You can see that some of the stats are by chore, some are by client, some are by rule. Well, when doing health checks, one of the things that I like to look at is I like to look at the StatsByCube information. So I'm going to open up the StatsByCube. I'm going to take a look at it. I'm going to double click on it and just bring up the default view. And what this default view is going to show us is this is going to show us a series of information. Within that particular cube, there's a lot of information that's used. Memory used, number of, various other components in there. But three things that I like to look at are, I like to look at the memory used for the input data, I like to look at the memory used for feeders, and then I like to see the grand total of those where I can see total memory used. So one of the things that I like to do is I'm also a big fan of saying I want to change some of my views. I'm just going to set them up with commas so that I could see everything. Not too worried about decimals, yes or no, but now I have the ability to see the size of these pieces. Okay, so when I look at this, I now have the ability to see information about my cube. How much of my cube is used based on the data that I'm loading? How much of the cube is used based on, I'm going to say calculations because we're going to look at the feeder components that are coming in and the grand total. And when I do health checks, the way I like to do this is I like to right click on this. I like to go into sort, and I like to sort these as descending so that I could say, let me look at my biggest cubes. Based on the size of the system, based on what we're looking into, we can determine what cubes do I want to look at? Maybe I want to look at everything that's 16 gig or higher. Maybe I want to look at everything that's 1 gig or higher. Looking at this based on size, this gives me the ability to now analyze how many of these cubes are big because I'm loading a lot of data versus how many of these cubes are big because I'm calculating a lot of data. And this gives us the opportunity to now think about it of, is it large because there's a lot of data in it, or is it large because maybe it's not efficient? Maybe we have some rules that we can optimize. Maybe we're overfeeding. Maybe we're doing some of the calculations. So this approach to using Performance Monitor is great, not just to see the information about your system, but now to analyze it. Maybe we want to optimize our system, and this gives us a starting point. Thanks for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned something new. If you have any additional questions on performance monitoring or anything else associated with your environment, please contact us at info@revelwood.com, and please visit our website at revelwood.com.